Tom later on, yeah. Hello again. So, you're here for Councillor Stories. This is session 1 of 2. And what we've tried to do here is bring in some of our fantastic councillors. Now, every one of our councillors is fantastic because, as you know, as a Liberal Democrat, you don't get in easily. You all have to work. So the selection here is, you know, we've thought about sort of geographical diversity, kind of different angles, different stories, that sort of thing. And we hope that, you know, through these conversational style interviews, you'll be inspired and entertained. Certainly very grateful to the people that have come on stage to join us today. So this is who we've got. So we've got Councillor Colin Green of Sheldon. And Councillor Green, I'm very proud to say, he got in, was it your 6th attempt? I think that's so impressive. 6th attempt. He kept going and he got in, which is wonderful. I think Alcott has got a similar story. Yeah, tried hard for a long time. So Claims Ward, Worcester, so which is wonderful. Yeah, got some fans there. Then we've got Councillor Easy Knowles of Moseley, which is great to see here for a really tough campaign. I never quite checked this, but I'm not sure if you got more votes than anyone else in Birmingham because you were 3,000 odd votes, weren't you? Which is 25, yeah, absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. And we've got Councillor Alex Wagner of Bowbrook, who unseated the Tory lead. Nearly. So yeah, 4 wonderful people that have come to join us today. And then we've got Radley Russell, who's going to interview them all. Now, Radley's got a history of being in media and he's producer by day as well, but he also was on the ticket with Izzy in Moseley and got 1,700 odd votes, was it? 1,800. 800, 1,800 odd votes. So I stand corrected, which is again very, very impressive. First time. So next year, next time we'll be saying Councillor Radley Russell too. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Radley now. There's going to be a bit of chit chat, bit of conversation, and we hope to be able to open the floor as well. But when I come to you, please be brief. Okay. Thank you. Over to you, Radley.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah.
It's working. Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a lovely morning session so far, and thank you very much for being here today. Thanks to Jennifer and the guys for organising this for the whole of West Midlands, which is really important. And thank you very much to our wonderful councillors for giving up their mornings as well. So thank you very much. Roger, you here, Roger Harmer? Can you make sure you get a photo of me with the councillors, please? Because I'm going to be there in 4 years' time. I'm really joking. So, Colin, we'll kick off with you. So, actually, what I'll do is I'll do an open question for everyone. Pretty much say who you... The microphone's there. Just check for it, make sure it works, Mel. That's it, you've got to pick it up. That's it.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, you can hear me.
If all of you just briefly, who you are and where you're from and where you're councillor for, and if you pass the microphone down. No. Is it done? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Mal Alcott and I'm a city councillor, obviously at Worcester City Council, and a county councillor at Worcestershire County Council. And it's Claims Ward and Division. Thanks.
Perfect.
Hello. I'm Colin Green. I'm the councillor for Sheldon, which is by the airport for those people who don't know Birmingham too well.
And I'm Izzy Knowles, councillor for Moseley, which is South Birmingham.
I'm Alex Wagner, councillor for Bowbrook, which is the bit of Shrewsbury you drive through if you're going to Wales.
So if we keep it with you then, Alex, what would you say got you involved in local politics?
I think like a lot of Lib Dems, I joined because of fairly big issues. You know, Europe has obviously been on the agenda. I know a lot of people feel passionately about that. You know, just being a centre ground party, which has a slightly different perspective to the mainstream. And I grew up in a very rural area where there isn't really a Labour Party. There isn't an opposition to the Tories apart from us. And then, like a lot of people who joined for that reason, I've ended up talking about bins and potholes a lot more. But that's kind of fine. That's what liberalism is for me.
So how did you first get involved then?
Well, the first time I got involved in campaigning is probably a better question. And I got involved in campaigning because David Vasma, who's a councillor in Shrewsbury for Underdale, and was a councillor in Liverpool many moons ago, knocked on my door because I was a new member in the area and said, do you want to come and help me deliver focus newsletters or come and help me knock on doors? Now I've since learned that if you ask 100 people that, only 5 say yes. But it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. Then he showed me, you do your focus, you knock on doors, you talk to people, you feed back to them, and all of a sudden you win a fairly unlikely area.
And what age, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I won last year at 20, which is cool. I'm the youngest councillor of the 74 in Shropshire by over a decade.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Incredible, incredible. If we go on to Izzy, I know you very well, Izzy. We argue all the time, and I love you at the same time as well. I feel like asking you these questions. I know the answers to it, but obviously these lovely guys in the audience don't. What would you say got you involved? Because I know your story is different.
Well, I suppose I've always, it's really hard to see people, always sort of been very close in a way, or to the Lib Dems. My parents sort of fairly involved when I was young, even though I wasn't. But it was Brexit that made me join the party, and it was my son, actually, because after the referendum, and I was so upset about it, and joined EU in Brum and started campaigning, and he basically phoned me up one day and said, Mum, you know, you're going on so much about this, I've joined the Lib Dems and I think you should. So I did, and I didn't stop. But it was also a natural thing for me to do. People probably know I'm a retired neighbourhood sergeant. After I retired from the police, I worked in a homeless charity. I like being out in the community. I like solving problems. I like listening to people. I like working with people, and so standing first. So when I did join the Lib Dems, actually, in southwest Birmingham, it was Colin here who sent an email, and I'd only been a member for like a month or so, and you sent him an email asking for people who might be interested in standing in the local elections in 2018. And I thought, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that, you know, have my own patch and sort of solve all the local issues in my own patch. I think that would be a good thing to do. And I expected there to be loads of people wanting to do this. And no, there wasn't. But so I stood in 2018 and really enjoyed the campaign. And went on from there. So.
Can we just stay at Izzy knows, because she's practically wearing Europe, Birmingham.
Yeah, I am. I thought I'd come prepared for everything.
And is that immigration? What's on the T-shirt?
Right. So this is going back from the Tory conference when some young Conservative decided that Birmingham was not a nice place for him to be. So I got this T-shirt.
They got T-shirts already.
Yeah. And then I was a volunteer with the Commonwealth Games, which were amazing.
Give her a round of applause,
so
everyone.
This is my Commonwealth Games thing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I am incredibly pro-EU, so I've got mine.
Absolutely. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Green. Colin.
Hello.
What got you involved over in Harborne, Edgbaston area?
I joined the party in 2010. It's a long time ago now. I think it was the dying years of the Blair and Brown governments. They were just doing everything wrong. Things that we've all forgotten about now, you know, ID cards, and they were anti-immigration even then. And I thought, someone's got to come and do something about this because no one else is. You know, so I signed up, volunteered online to the party, got roundly ignored because I lived in a ward where the party hadn't really done much. And I had to basically go and beat on the door and say, let me do something.
But what was that point that actually made you want to actually getting involved and run and campaign and then stand?
In a strange way, does anyone remember the Chancellor's debate with Vince Cable? It was a sort of dry run before we did the first ever leaders debate. And I thought everything he said was right. And I realised that for probably a couple of years, I've been finding excuses not to join. And what he said, I'm just going to go and do it.
And remind us how long it's taken for you to get a councillor role. But we still have to be positive about that, though. We still have to be positive about it.
For those who take count of these things, I stood in Edgbaston ward in 2011 and 2012,
Oh, wow.
whilst we were losing everything around us.
It's a domino effect.
It was suggested to me that I retreat from that and go and help defend Selly Oak at the time, 2014, which almost worked. We lost by, I think, 1,200 votes the first time and 600, then 75 after that.
Oh, God.
So I stood and tried to win back Selly Oak in 2015 and 16 without success. And then Gisela Stewart did a thing.
I remember.
And you remember Gisela Stewart?
I do, yes.
Party
Labour
HQ
MP.
said, why don't you try something in her constituency? So, because I lived in the area, I thought I'd pick Harborne. We tried Harborne in 2018 and we did all right. But,
I could never understand why she was on a bus with Boris.
well, neither could Harborne Labour. They were horrified. I kept knocking on their doors and they were... I mean, it's like PTSD for them. They were absolutely horrified.
But you would think that, obviously, that would sway more to someone who is in favour of being part of the EU.
Well, a strange thing happened. I stood for the parliamentary elections in 17 and 19. Mm-hmm. And I would knock on people's doors, and for month after month, they would say, yeah, we like what you're saying. We've not made our minds up yet. And then a thing happened, and overnight people changed. It's an odd thing to see. Now, with May, it was a dementia tax. But as soon as she'd said that, they said, we decided, we want you to win. We really like you. We're not going to vote for you. Half of them said, we cannot let Jeremy Corbyn in. We've got to vote, even though we don't like them. Or the other way around, we don't like Boris Johnson, but we've got to vote Labour to keep them out. But we'll put your poster in the window, will that help?
Thank you, Colin. Thank you.
Well, kind of.
Okay. Let's not forget Mal at the end. Hello, Mal. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Mal, remind us where you are and what got you involved in local politics. And I've seen some great work online by John Taylor, who supports you very well. And it's amazing and fantastic that, you won your seat and that. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've been a city councillor since 2019 by-election in August, and thank you to everyone who helped with that. And that was my 7th time standing, seriously. And it was kind of reaching the embarrassing stage. You'd be at the counter, people say, "Oh, how many times have you stood?" And you think, "Oh no." But over time, and I think people get to know you, and the political mood shifted, and things certainly went our way, but. And I'm obviously also a Worcestershire County Councillor, and I think I've gone from, in 2014, I just checked earlier, I had 794 votes, 27% of the vote, and at the last city election it was 1,933 votes, 70% share. So it does just show how things can turn around, and
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say that for
Absolutely,
everyone.
yeah, amazing.
But I think I was always very interested nationally, but I didn't sort of feel as though I quite sat with Labour or the Conservatives, and I perhaps didn't give the Lib Dems as much attention as I should. And when I moved back to Worcester and Claines, I met our local councillors at the time, and they were just really nice, decent people. And of course, being an accountant, I said, "Oh, I'll help. I'll do your books." And and sort of one thing led to another. But I think once you stand and once you start to knock on doors and put the effort in, it really sort of takes hold of you. And when you see how little a lot of the Conservatives and some members of other parties care for their people or their residents, it just makes you more determined, because you think, yes, I can make a difference and people deserve better. So I have councillors, Sue Asking, Ken Carpenter and Liz Smith to thank. But obviously they're not here today.
Amazing. So what would you say actually got you involved then?
Got involved. I think we were a very small party when I sort of joined, and things weren't going well, and after the coalition, and I think it was just meeting people on the doorstep and just spending that time to, as well as the national issue, just realising that you can make an effort locally, and I thought long and hard about where I sit politically, and I knew I would never ever be a Conservative, and I knew I'm not a true socialist at heart either, and it all sort of came together and fitted really. But I think life carries on, doesn't it? You do things, you you know, you go to school, you go to college, if you go to uni and you go to work, you have children. And I think I've sort of been going through those stages in life. But then all of a sudden I thought, oh, this is something I can do, and it's something I really want to do. I just wish I'd joined sooner.
No,
There we are.
which a lot of people do say within the Lib Dems anyway, you know, pretty much myself as well. My question's gone. That's what I was going to say, actually. No, it's not on the notes. That's what I was going to say. It's always the doorstep, isn't it? And that's a fascinating thing that I found when I was campaigning with Izzy in Moseley, is the amount of incredible stories you get on the doorstep and the amount of truth you get from it. Joe, if you don't mind me saying, Izzy, Joe Harmer said, we have a 2-minute rule, Radley, on the doorstep. And I was perfectly fine, like zoop, 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 zoop. But Izzy was still there. But obviously, you know, she was there for the right reason, was, you know, and that's because pretty much supporting and actually working with residents. If we take the mic back to Izzy, coming from a police sergeant background, which is obviously similar, working with neighbouring and whatnot, why was it you had a passion to be a councillor before you even became a councillor?
I think it's because I like solving problems for people and working with people rather than doing things for them or doing things to them. I think it's important that we work with communities to get things done and to get changes. And unless you really do work with people, you don't always fully understand, get to the bottom of what the issues are. Which means that sometimes things can take a lot longer to solve and things can get complicated, but you feel as though you are actually making that difference when you're with people. So I in the police, I was a neighbourhood sergeant for about the last 6 years of my service. I'd done a lot of other different roles within the job as well, but I enjoy evidence-based working. You know, that's what I was taught, it's what I've been did for 30 years. And then after I left the police, I again worked with a homeless charity. I was out and about on the streets. I was doing outreach work. I was talking to some of the most vulnerable people in society, getting to understand. And I already, you know, was able to use my police background for that, but seeing things from a different perspective, different point of view was really important as well. So I think that it was just carrying on that, really. I wanted to carry it on and being councillor and representing people and being able to go into council and change things and influence things and influence policy that would make a difference to people's lives, then you know, that gives me a buzz.
Absolutely, well done. Keep that microphone, Izzy. No, keep the microphone, keep the microphone. One of the things that I find fascinating is that wherever I go in Birmingham, everyone knows Izzy knows.
Everybody knows Radley as well.
No, but seriously, everyone knows Izzy knows. And it was only Thursday night. I do improvisation at the Mac, and I met someone who knew you a long time ago, and it was like, oh my God, you know Izzy knows? Of course I know Izzy knows. But obviously it's through the great work that you do. What would you say has been your proudest achievement? I could say as a councillor so far, but it's only been 5 minutes. But as a honorary councillor beforehand, what would you say has been your proudest achievement of working so hard in Moseley? And you must have something. And you've mentioned the CDT to myself, you know.
I think probably the alternative giving campaign. And there's lots of things I've been involved in that I've enjoyed doing. Oh yeah, no, I got a BEM last year. That made me very proud.
Give her a round of applause,
that made me very
please.
proud. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
So there's lots of different things, but I think I started the alternative giving campaign when I was doing outreach in 2014, and it's still going and it's still supporting again very vulnerable people in Moseley, and also enables us to employ a wonderful outreach worker who's doing the sort of work that I was doing. So I'm very proud that that's continued.
Thank you very much. If you give it to Alex, you have got, my researcher has given me yours, and thanks to my researchers, they've done a brilliant job. Your story is about taking out the leader of the Tories. How does it feel, or what does it feel like to take them out?
So we chose 2 wards in the west of Shrewsbury where we'd never really fought a campaign as Lib Dems before. Copthorne, which is next door to mine, which is a Tories ward, and my ward is Bowbrook, which was the safest Tory ward in 2017. 75% of the vote for the Tories most elections, but quite deprived, strongly voting. To be totally frank, I didn't know loads about it before deciding it was worth taking up the challenge. I think that when you're fighting the leader, there's such a satisfaction, especially when it's against someone like our leader. Shropshire, I've always found, and one of the reasons why I've got involved and do this and enjoy being a councillor, it's quite a pompous place to do local politics. People think they're very important. There's big portraits of all the chairs of the council up on the wall at Shire Hall. There's paintings of some of them. There's a great sort of sense that instead of going out to people and knocking on their door and delivering newsletters and doing the kind of gritty side, I think in Labour and the Conservatives, the view of a councillor is very much someone who's at the council. They speak on the important issues. They make a balanced judgment based on their own uniquely high intellect, and then they, the people will be very grateful and re-elect them. I take a pretty different approach. I think the gritty community politics, focus newsletters, getting your hands stained with that Riso ink is kind of what it's about. And so, yeah, the 3 wards we gained in Shrewsbury, so we doubled, went from 3 to 6, were the Tory mayor, the Tory leader, and the safest Tory seat.
Wow,
that's not a coincidence.
Absolutely amazing.
And where we're getting to now, because my view is that it's all about building. You've got to keep moving forward. You've got to keep fighting new seats. You've got to keep doing stuff. We're actually at the point now where we have basically destroyed the Conservatives in town. They're down to 2 of the 17. They had 12 2 elections ago. All of our seats are the Tory ones. And it's really satisfying because that wholesale change has happened in basically 3 or 4 years.
That's amazing.
People say to me, "Oh, I always vote Lib Dem," and I think, well, I'll put it down in Connect, and I'm grateful for your support, but you really don't. You voted for us last time. You probably didn't voted for Boris. People think of themselves as quite strong Lib Dems in these areas.
And
now.
also as well, we must remind everyone we've got an MP in Shropshire.
Absolutely.
You were so big campaigning and supporting on that. How did that feel when on the day that, Helen her name was called and...
It is the greatest political experience of my life, and it probably will be forever, going to that count and seeing the look on the faces of the Tories and actually the look on the faces of the Labour activists who were so deluded they thought they might win. So I'm actually from North Shropshire, though I represent the Shrewsbury ward, and I grew up right on the Welsh border in a community that the Tories and other people in DEFRA list as flood resilient, which if you are in one of these rural areas, if you're listed as flood resilient, their attitude is basically, you can flood every year, and you figured out how to get enough boats and buckets and sandbags to deal with it. And so some of those communities, tiny little hamlets, I grew up in a hamlet of 60 houses spread across a good number of miles. Those are the communities which really switched wholesale to us once we made an effort, even though they are bluest blue, 189 years of voting Tory. The irony in Shrewsbury and Shropshire now is that wards we used to consider quite good Lib Dem ones are not the ones we perform best in now. The wards we perform best in are the ones where the Tories and Labour have had them for 50, 100 years, done bugger all to campaign for residents, and we've sort of caught them on the, we sort of caught them without really being prepared to fight a serious election.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's brilliant.
So briefly, because I'm conscious of time and I know that some hands are in the audience and I still want to get to Mel and Colin, what advice would you give to a local party thinking of capitulating their foe from the top? And it's my researcher who wrote it, sorry.
So the first thing, if you're fighting the leader of the council or a high-profile opponent, is you still need to make your candidate look really good. We won in Copthorne, the leaders' ward, by contrasting Rob, who was really good, active, hard-working local candidate, against someone who spent all their time at Shire Hall and was making some rubbish decisions. We found 2 or 3 things the Tories did. We tried a lot of things on a lot of newsletters. We delivered about 20 in the year running up to the locals. to give you some idea of the quantity of focuses. And the one that really hit home was that they bought the shopping centres in town for 50 million quid and they were valued at 10 million. And to any normal person, that's just, you know, they've just lost 40 million quid of your money. And once we figured out that that was what got repeated back to us, we just went on that and went on that and went on that. And 12 or 15 or 20 leaflets later, we were still going on that, and then we won by 500. So let there be a lesson there. People won't get tired of you repeating yourself. Don't think because it's been in one focus. People know. You need to just repeat that drumbeat of knocking on doors, hearing what people have to say, going back to them. It's no different to any other campaign. It's just more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also found that knocking on the door when someone responded, "Oh, God, not you again. I get your and Izzy's leaflet every single bloody time." It's like, well, so? Alex, thank you very much. If we pass it to Colin. Colin, as a newly elected councillor, what advice would you give for others who might experience the same situation as yourself?
The thing that I didn't know when I became a councillor was what on earth a councillor did. Somebody asked me after my first week, what does a councillor do? And I don't know. So find out in advance. You know, see what you're dropping yourself into. But no, the most difficult thing I found as a councillor is knowing who to talk to about problems when they come in. You know, so get yourself a mentor, make friends with them, and learn the ropes quickly.
And how do you keep yourself motivated? I know from looking at your personal info, you're a computer programmer. You've lived in Birmingham since 2000,
I have.
which I didn't know. Yeah. So where did you come from before 2000?
I grew up in Lancashire.
Oh, that's amazing.
Moved to Birmingham to work in the motor industry. Not that there's going to be much of that left thanks to Brexit. I decided to take a new tack and join in local politics.
That's amazing. And one of your favourite quotes from canvassing, and I really like this, is that we like what you've been saying and want you to win, but we're not going to vote for you. We have to vote for such and such to stop such and such, but we will put your poster in our window.
And they did. But they didn't vote for me. No, 2019, the day after the election, I went round and collected state boards, and a little old lady came up to me and told me off for not winning. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
But did she vote for you, though?
I wasn't really in the state of mind to ask, to be fair.
I noticed that in Moseley, there's it's just random people afterwards saying, "Has the vote taken place yet? Because I was going to vote for you." And I looked at the guy and I thought, oh, God. But yes, thanks very much, Colin.
Thank you.
If you pass it over to Mel. So, Mel, what would you say since you've been elected to now, or even prior, what has been the best community campaign that you have ran?
I think and the Conservatives did take credit for this one, but it did backfire. We had our Saturday bus service to 37 in Claims was going to be stopped, and we've got a lot of retired residents and and other people who do use the bus, and it was a huge concern. So we ran a petition, and we had a public meeting, and we did various things, and and then towards the end, because I wasn't an elected county councillor at the time, the Conservative opposition jumped in and they did a leaflet and literature and, we've saved the bus. But as soon as I was back out on the streets, people said, no, we know that you really saved the bus. You put in the time, you put in the effort. So I think that one, and it was just, the icing on the cake that they tried to sort of claim the glory and it backfired.
I notice you've talked in the research that what you find with the post-coalition challenge is shrinking membership. How do we turn that around? Because I know we also find it in our local party as well. Every month someone's gone or whatnot. But how do we win back those supporters and voters?
Yeah, I think, again, a lot of engaging with people and talking to people on a one-to-one basis. And I think now where we are, it's just, we can't keep looking back. We have to look forward. You know, we can beat the party up as much as we want to, but move forward, and particularly bearing in mind the state of the nation at the moment. And just lots of engagement with people, I would say.
I'm going to ask the question to everyone on that. In your area, you've obviously had shrinking memberships. How are we, or how are yourself, are going to bring people back? So Colin, and I noticed time's running, so if we be brief as we can, and if we've got any questions in the audience.
It's a real problem in Sheldon. We have a very small membership. And so we've decided in the spring, when the weather turns, we're going to go out door knocking and talk to people. Best way to bring people in.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Izzy?
Yeah, I mean, to bring people back is just to, I suppose, carry on telling them the benefits of belonging to the Lib Dems, and if they want us to do well, then to get them to support us. It's, yeah.
Thank you, Izzy. Alex?
The only way to win is by winning. We had the highest attended AGM we've ever had in Shrewsbury a week and a half ago. We've got candidates in place for about 70% of the constituency. You know, we're if people see that you're winning and you're doing stuff, they'll get involved. And actually, top tip, most of our candidates weren't Lib Dem members before we recruited them. They're just people who do stuff and like what we were doing and get involved because they basically agree with us. You know, that's how we grow. We get new candidates in.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause.
What he said.
Oh, thank you.